My top 5 tips for leading through an era of disruptive change are as follows. Ask early and often what you personally or as an organization might do better. That's critically important if you are going to learn from your failures and bring your organization or yourself to the next level of service. Number 2, seek out and listen to the views of others. They will always bring you to a better decision, even if you don't ultimately embrace those ideas. Particularly important here is the seeking out. Make sure that you go to people who might have differing views than you have in order to understand how their perspective may help shape your decision making as it goes forward. Number 3, never lack the courage to say that you need to make a change or even reverse course. That's something that is not different than anything we should do in any aspect of our life, whether personal or professional. And when leading an organization, it becomes even more important to make sure that you're not hesitant, you're not afraid to say that we need to try something different, something new, something better. Number 4, understand that receiving credit is not worth a photograph, but praise of others is. Number 5, ask what if, why not, and will you join me? Those 3 simple questions, what if, why not, and will you join me, are some of the best ways to open minds and to get people to come with you in the journey forward.
Hello, my name is Amy Lynn Meyerson. I'm the president of the Connecticut Bar Association, a past president of NAPABA, and a past chair of the ABA Solo Small Firm and General Practice Division. Throughout my career, I've seen firsthand the power of connecting with others involved in the law and legal community, and the resulting success in promoting justice and strengthening our legal profession. It's with that in mind that I chose Connect to Succeed as this year's theme for the Connecticut Bar Association. At the CBA, we're focused on championing our communities, broadening networks, and advancing justice. Of course, no one could have predicted that we'd be experiencing great social unrest right in the middle of a global pandemic during the months leading up to our officer transition and the start of our new bar year that began back on July 1st. Here are 5 tips that are helping to keep the Connecticut Bar Association moving smoothly forward and effectively communicating in this virtual world. Number 1, prepare a President-elect's plan with reasonable and attainable goals. I started drafting my plan and theme 2 years ago when I joined the CBA's officer track. Our state issued its stay-at-home order on March 23rd. Then on top of the pandemic, we started experiencing a surge in racism, dehumanization, and violence and scapegoating. Our plan has allowed us to keep our unquestioned focus on protecting and promoting the principles of the rule of law, democracy, and our justice system against those attacking it. I am so grateful for all the resources that are available through the NCBP, the ABA Policy and Planning Division, and the ABA Division for Bar Services. Number 2, embrace technology and welcome this opportunity of disruption to examine how we've been doing things, collaborate, and be creative in our solutions. As the coronavirus pandemic has severely limited traditional means of access to our courts, the CBA, in collaboration with the Connecticut Judicial Branch, is working to find creative, alternative ways to provide timely legal services. Now more than ever, lawyers, judges, and court administrators have to take the lead in implementing technology to find new avenues to gain access to justice. Try new tech solutions. Use available online tools to facilitate communications, including video conferencing share screen, group chat, sharing and tracking documents, reporting features for concerns and problems. Employ the appropriate technology for the task at hand and don't overdo it. Using too many applications or multiple features at once may be counterproductive. Number 3, respect and understand time differences and schedules. Working in this virtual world has opened up so many opportunities for our state bar to hear from speakers and work with consultants from all over the world. This increased access, we try to not to expect instant responses to all of our emails and texts and actively work to respect and value everyone's time. Some of the things we try to do consistently are be mindful of time zones, regular business hours, and that many of us are working from home. Set out an agenda and a purpose for virtual meetings when scheduling one, and start and finish meetings on time. It's always helpful to summarize points and action items before closing meetings because, let's face it, people are multitasking on Zoom calls. Number 4, share leadership. Through perseverance, innovation, and dividing up the work, we are rising to meet the challenge of addressing increased and immediate needs stemming from the pandemic while continuing to deliver the outstanding services and programs our members need to be the exceptional legal professionals our clients and communities rely upon. Sharing leadership allows us to be responsive, supportive, open, and inclusive. Inclusion means both a sense of belonging as well as a recognition of individual uniqueness. Here in Connecticut, our CBA President-elect Cecil Thomas has taken the lead in coordinating our pro bono and diversity and inclusion efforts. Increasing diversity in the legal profession results in better service to our clients, facilitates access to justice, and improves the profession as a whole. Our Vice President, Daniel Horgan, is working on forward-looking solutions to meet the current and future needs of our membership. Number 5, listen, learn, and lead. We feel the impact of these divisive and uncertain times on our lives and our communities and the heightened concern for our safety and the economy. Our challenges include the mental health and well-being issues arising from working from home and insecurities about serving clients and their needs. Perform well-being check-ins to make sure bar staff, bar leadership, and members are doing okay. Find out if they have the equipment, connectivity, support, and resources they need to lead the way to find solutions for the unresolved issues as they can stay connected, resilient, and motivated. I'm thankful for all the good and special people in our CBA staff, led by our Executive Director, Keith Soresi, in our Connecticut Bar Association membership for their dedication and commitment, not only to the association's causes, but to the vitality and health of the legal profession in our communities. Please stay safe, be well, and here's to a great bar year.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Murphy, Executive Director of the Chicago Bar Association. I'm honored to be a member of today's panel. As we look ahead to the future, leadership is now needed more than ever. And I guess with this pandemic as a backdrop, all of you need to answer a question. Do I really want to become a bar president? And I would say to you, the answer to that question is definitely yes. Your leadership is needed now more than ever. I think in every cloud there is, as my mother used to say, a silver lining. This pandemic will change forever the practice of law as we now know it in America and quite probably throughout the world. I've been asked to come up with 5 suggestions for each of you to consider during your presidency this year. My first suggestion would be that you need to be innovative. You need to think a lot, but more importantly, you need to think bigger. We can't continue to do the same old, and expect to succeed in the wake of this pandemic. My second point is that now more than ever, we need to engage our members. And it's as difficult as that may seem in a pandemic where most lawyers and most personnel that are working for law firms are really working mobile. And I think the mobile practice of law is proving that it can work, it can be productive, it can be successful economically, and that it works with clients. Now, how do we engage our members during the pandemic? Most of us are providing online programming to our members during the pandemic, but we need to do more. We need to reach them in different ways. And our traditional sort of programming, whether it be continuing legal education programming or committee meeting programs, we need to redouble our efforts. We need to expand our online reach. And here I honestly believe we need to consider partnering with our fellow bar associations around the country. We need to think outside of the norm. And that is that all of us have some excellent and outstanding programs. What we need to do is begin offering the programs from, for example, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, Houston, Dallas, wherever, we ought to consider sharing our best programming with each other and creating a network of excellent bar programming in the United States. Now is the time for us to pioneer some new programming with each other. My third point is that young lawyers, we need now more than ever to recruit and retain new lawyers into the profession. And there are a lot of ways to do that. Young lawyers are particularly interested in learning more, in better mentoring programs, in getting more involved in community and social issues. And my next point that leads into that is that we need to be involved socially in our communities. There is a social responsibility level all of us need to consider. All of us need to begin programming and do a lot more than we're currently doing in our communities. By that, I mean, think about meetings with interfaith leaders, think about meetings with other organizations, for example, the Better Business Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, other professional organizations. We need to establish ongoing liaisons and partnerships with those groups. And our reach is only limited by our imagination. So I recommend strongly that we begin and do a whole lot more with social responsibility in our communities. My final point is that we need to secure our financial futures. Bar associations are businesses, and albeit we're not-for-profit businesses, but as businesses age, they also can wither. And in order to preserve our bar association world as we know it, we need to secure the financial responsibility of our associations for many years to come. The way we do this, I believe, is to create national networking programs. There are more than 200 lawyer referral programs operating in the United States through bar associations. We need to be a lot more cohesive. I honestly believe we should be the go-to organizations for helping people find lawyers and obtaining legal advice and assistance at a very reasonable cost. I think that bar associations need to come together. We need a partnership. We need to be far more cohesive in what we do, not just in lawyer referral, but in continuing legal education programming for our members, in social responsibility, in an organized way for each of our communities, speakers, for programming, whether it be committee programming or programming with political or social leaders. We need to do a better job at coming together as a profession. I have felt this for many years. I've been in the Bar Association business now for 49 years. We very often act independently. We very often act as if our world pretty much revolves around our own, what we do in our associations. That time, I think, has come to an end. I think the pandemic, I think the new norm that all of us are and will be experiencing going forward requires that we partner. And I know that we can do it. We are much better together. I'll leave you with a quote from one of Notre Dame's legendary coaches, Lou Holtz. Now, whether or not you like Notre Dame, or whether or not you liked Lou Holtz, who again dates me a little bit, Holtz said that leadership is all about getting people involved. And if we get enough people to care, we can solve just about any problem. Congratulations to all of you who are becoming bar presidents. I wish you luck. And I also want to leave you with, we are better and stronger together. Let's do it. Thank you very much.
When the pandemic hit, courts were physically closed, communications were disrupted, expectations were obliterated, all in a moment, in just a few days. As Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Texas, I saw this firsthand in our courts And as president of the Conference of Chief Justices nationally, I watched it happen in courts across the country. So how to confront it and how to lead in the confrontation. Let me give 5 tips that I think we followed in trying to meet the challenges. First was relieve immediate pressure. Allow flexibility in court operations, procedures, and deadlines. Let judges and lawyers adapt to situational demands. An easy example is relieve statutes of limitations, just suspend them, and other deadlines so people won't worry about filings or rulings. A harder example, meet with stakeholders on residential evictions, representatives of landlords, legal aid lawyers who are desperately trying to weather the circumstances into which they've been thrust. Another example, consumer debt collection. All of this we did in Texas, trying to get people to recognize that for a while, we've got to have some breathing space and that we might not be going to business as usual for a long time. The other critical thing was to share information with the state bar, making sure communications were wide open with court administration in Texas and also with the National Center of State Courts, the Conference of Chief Justices, and the Conference of State Court Administrators. Then get help. Convene advisory groups for insight, new approaches, support, validation. Listen to and learn from colleagues in other parts of the country. After flexibility, the lawyer said, we need dependability. We need not just judicial discretion, we need to know what's going to happen. And so the next tip would be to give guidance without decreeing that something happened, but encouraging judges and lawyers to adopt new best practices. One example in Texas, our courts of limited jurisdiction, we call them justices of the peace, there are 802 of them in Texas, really needed to help one another weather the circumstances into which they were thrust. And then something that we don't always think about in the judiciary. We need to consult with the executive branch. They're on the front lines of confronting the pandemic, and we need to make sure that courts are not interfering with and are trying with efforts that are taken to stabilize society generally. The third tip I would say would be to encourage judicial innovation. Be nimble, experiment, take calculated risks in the spirit that we can do this. That does not come easily for us. We are averse to risks, lawyers and judges. We want to do things the old, dependable ways. And now all of a sudden, we're adopting remote platform technology that most of us have never even heard of, let alone used. I thought Zoom meant to hurry down the street in the 1st of March. Now, lawyers and judges in Texas have had hundreds of thousands of hearings on Zoom and other platforms. And to do that, they had to have practical tips about how to turn the machine on and to use it to advantage. We needed to provide dependable solutions to build public trust and confidence, not just to say we're doing this, but to show the people, yes, indeed, we can make the courts accessible. We can bridge the digital divide. We can make it transparent. We'll put it on YouTube where you can see it. And we can listen, particularly during the pandemic, to repeated protests of racial inequality impacting the justice system that are very troubling and that we have to take to heart. And then the 5th tip, plan for the future. This is just the beginning. Remote conferencing will be with us for a long, long time. But we'll have on top of that, crowded dockets, tight budgets, virtual courts, a new normal that we don't even know exactly what it will look like. Now we know it's coming. We can see it, for example, in trying to adopt to have jury trials again. It's a very high hill to climb. But we can use the experience that we've had so far to try to confront these new obstacles in the future. Somebody has said, don't let a crisis go to waste. And my hope is through these challenges that we faced, both the bar and the bench will come out more efficient, fairer, and doing justice better than we have in the past.